Well, good morning and welcome to Function Fridays. Today we're really excited to talk about prevention and one of our favorite topics, visual supports and how to support kids with transition using timers and visuals and things like that. So we feel like we have lots of good take-home tools that you can use today. And then we also have a wonderful volunteer. Karen is going to walk us through a really great case and also help us kind of all walk together through some of the data collection, some of the data collection measures that we've asked you to do that maybe have been a little bit confusing. So we wanted to walk through that all together and kind of talk about how that would look in a case. So we're gonna spend some time doing that, but let's first start with some introductions. I know people are still trickling in, but I am Skylar Bellinger. I'm a psychologist here at KU in Kansas City and co-investigator on the Telehealth Rocks grant.
I am Katie Tepper, and I'm a psychology postdoctoral fellow here at the KU Medical Center.
And then Alice, do you want to introduce yourself? I'm going to try to zoom you over.
I guess I need to. My name is Alice Zhang. I am also a postdoctoral fellow, and my background is in applied behavior analysis.
And Alice is going to be in here helping us monitor the chat box. So please feel free to chat in if you're more comfortable chatting your questions or comments in. But also, as always, we want you to feel really comfortable chiming in. And this is really a community and a discussion. So either way you feel most comfortable, please do so. And then we also have Hannah. And she doesn't have a computer in front of her, but I may try to zoom over to her. If you can kind of see her. You want to say hi, Hannah?
Hi.
Hannah is a new research assistant that's going to help us out with some of the work that actually Dr. Swails is going to talk about next week. And so we're really excited to have her on board and kind of figuring out what we're doing around here. So, all right. And then Michelle, do you want to say hello?
Sure. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, I'm Michelle Udd. I am a program manager for Telehealth Rocks, and so you all have been getting communication from me about meetings. So if you have any questions that you need from me, just feel free to contact me.
Great. And then Dr. Swails, do you want to say hello?
Hi, everyone. It's good to see you this morning. Dr. Swails, I'm one of the psychologists here. Dr. Bellinger and Dr. Tepper are going to be taking the lead on presentation today, so I'll only be chiming in occasionally. But good to see everyone on this Friday morning.
Okay, and does everybody have their, I think before we've asked you to put your names in. So if you, on your, yeah, I think we got, so I see Karen. Let's have Karen introduce first, since she's going to be the star of the show today. You say hi, Karen? They can't hear you.
They can't talk because the announcements.
Okay. Yeah. Okay, so we won't make them talk yet. We'll make you talk later. So we're welcome. And then Polly. I see Polly's here. Do you want to say hello?
I'm from Wichita, Polly Freeman, social worker for University of Kansas School of Medicine for Kansas.
Okay, Polly with KU Wichita, Kansas Kids Map. And then Beth, you want to say hello?
Yes, hi, I'm Beth Luba, and then Rachel Kelly, the school counselor for Haven Schools, is going to be joining me here shortly.
Great, welcome. And then let's see, I'm missing Tracy.
Yeah, hi, this is Tracy Cardinal. I'm an occupational therapist here in Ottawa.
Great. Thank you. And then Rachel, I see Rachel on.
Hi, Second Rachel Barlow.
All right, and where are you at, Rachel? Forget.
I'm over here at Fairfield Schools. I'm the mental health liaison and social worker over here, and I have an administrator as well, Darren San Romani, one of the principals of the elementary school.
Great, welcome. Thanks for joining us. And looks like we haven't introduced Robert yet. Are you there, Robert?
Hi, I'm Robert Swails. Yeah, can you hear me now?
Yes.
I'm Robert Stiles. I'm one of the program managers with Telehealth Rock Schools.
Okay. And we have a couple other people on the phone. It looks like I won't make you guys introduce because it's hard to see who's talking. But we're just glad to have everybody here today, and we'll go ahead and get started.
Right.
All right. So again, we're going to make our presentation really short and sweet today. So we have lots of time for the case, but we really feel like this is really truly one of the most important topics that we are going to talk about this entire session. So we're going to talk a lot about collecting the data, talking about the actual challenging behavior, finding the function, and putting in an intervention. But if we can prevent the behavior from happening in the first place, then we're better off than even having to put in an intervention, right? Or we'd like to not have to use our intervention as much, as little as possible. So really, prevention is the best intervention. And so we're going to spend the next 2 weeks talking about some really good strategies of prevention that we can hopefully incorporate into our behavior plans to set kids up for success. So, so the ways to set kids up for success, or the ways to really incorporate that idea of prevention, we feel like, is to create positive and healthy environments. And you guys know all of this. You're always thinking about, are they hungry, right? Can we incorporate healthy snacks? Do they have time for rest? Are they getting enough sleep? Do they have time for play? Are they getting to go out to recess? Even if they're a kid that maybe doesn't earn recess, they probably still need that opportunity to be outside and be playing and get, exercise. Are they getting positive attention from adults and peers? Do they have opportunities to get positive attention for the good things that they're doing, right? Or even just for being themselves. Everyone needs that sort of positive feedback. And then do they have the appropriate and supported instruction? So are we really teaching them at their level? Because obviously if we're not teaching them either low enough or high enough to what they need, then we're going to see more behaviors. So always thinking of those things when we're setting up healthy and positive environments. Also, we want to think about how we can avoid and prepare for triggers. So we've been talking a lot about ABC charts and triggers and antecedents and what kind of causes the behaviors, but one thing is knowing what to do when the behaviors happen. Another thing is to figure out, can we completely avoid that trigger, or can we help them through that so it doesn't become a trigger? Setting clear expectations, rewarding appropriate behaviors, and using visual supports whenever possible. So we really feel like what we're going to talk about today, which is visual supports, can address kind of all of these things in a really positive, clear, and concrete way. So I always like to say, I think I need to trademark this phrase, but never underestimate the power of a visual support. Everyone's always like, oh, silly, like it's just some pictures on a paper, what's the big deal, right? And I just always am amazed time after time when families come in and we incorporate some visual supports, and it makes all the difference in the world. And you just think it was just a sticker chart, or it was just a schedule. And for some reason that makes a huge difference. And we'll talk about some of those reasons. But the things that can be really helpful about a visual support is that it provides structure and predictability. And we know that a lot of our kids that have these behavioral problems and disruptive behaviors, whether they have autism and have trouble following sort of the daily schedule or routine, or whether they have a history of trauma, which they didn't know what to expect, and they always were wondering what's going to come at me next. How do I need to be on, kind of on defense? So it really is able to provide those kids with sort of a calm structure and predictability, like I know what's going to happen, right? It can really clarify routines and assist with unexpected transitions or changes. So you can have a visual for a normal routine, but if you know you're going to have a change, that's a perfect opportunity where you can incorporate that in there too, so that it's not such a surprise. If there's going to be an assembly, it's not just, oh, all of a sudden the bell rings and everybody starts being loud and rushing to the gym, but, oh, I saw it's on my schedule today. I know it's going to happen. Another great reason to use visual supports is it can help teach new skills or sort of reinforce maybe those routines that are not going as well. Right. So, we talk about kind of a task analysis, which Dr. Tupper is going to talk about later, but, really you can break down really tiny routines like brushing your teeth or reading group. What are all the steps of, getting your book, sitting at your desk, talking to your neighbor, reading your book, whatever it is. And you can make it really bigger things too, where a whole daily routine or a whole daily schedule. And then it's a really great opportunity or way to build in reinforcement opportunities and reinforcement opportunities and preferred activities. So we talk about rewards and basing your entire intervention on the function, right? And creating consequences that are going to reinforce or maintain positive behaviors and not reinforce or maintain negative behaviors. And so when you use a visual, you're putting that on paper on what that reward is going to be, and then everybody knows what it is. The kiddos know what it is, they can look forward to it, they can be motivated by it, and then the staff and the teachers and the therapists and the parents and everybody can see it, and they'll be more likely to follow through. So I always feel like that the visuals are just as important and just as helpful for adults as they are for the kids, because it helps us be accountable to what we said we would do and to our behavior intervention. So, we love visuals. We work with kids with autism a lot. We know they work really, really well with autism spectrum disorders, but they really work for, I'll just kind of get to the punchline, everybody, right? It works really well for ADHD because it helps with processing and helping kids that are having trouble staying focused or getting distracted. They can kind of refocus their brains on, okay, here's what I need to do next, right? It can teach them to organize those tasks a little bit better because they may have trouble organizing a task. We know it works for learning difficulties. If they're having trouble kind of understanding a certain concept or process, that we can really break that down for them. Works for anxiety, so like we talked about, especially if you don't know what's going to happen, it's really stressful and scary, and everybody feels better when they know exactly what's going to happen. So it's a great thing to put in place for kiddos that are anxious. Even if they know the routine or if they know what's going to happen, it can really take that anxiety down if they can just see it in front of them.
And it also helps for anxiety too, because you might tell someone, well, this is what's going to happen, here's what's expected. And then they might be super anxious at that point in time, and they're not going to remember exactly what you said. Right. So if you put it in front of them visually, it provides a way for them to look back at it and see exactly what's going to happen.
Yeah, good point. And intellectual disabilities, obviously helping with those kinds of understanding those routines and things that might be obvious to other kids, but may be more challenging for them, and they may feel more comfortable understanding exactly what the expectations are. Disruptive behavior, speech and language delay disorders. Obviously, if you have language processing issues, it's going to be helpful if you have something in front of you that's using pictures, something that's not as language based. Emotional regulation difficulties, processing comprehension difficulties, and everybody. So I'm sure all of us have our own little visual supports, whether it's stuff, alarms on our phones or grocery lists or to-do lists. I actually just got a new little sign in my office that has a list of things I got to do and things I'm going to procrastinate, right? And so really just figuring out, how do I organize my tasks as well, and I can always see it in front of me. Okay, okay, so we talk a lot about function. We're talking about Function Fridays, right? And so, we really feel like visuals aren't just like a kind of cherry on top thing that we're throwing into this behavior intervention plan. It can really help you address the function, right? So once you guys have collected your data and figured out what the function of your child's behavior is, you can incorporate a visual to kind of address that specific function. So if the function is sensory, you can build in clear sensory breaks and opportunities for input in the visual, right? So, you can show, here's a break time, quiet time. It can have options for headphones, wiggle seat, whatever it is, ask for a hug. You can incorporate all of those things onto a visual, a menu or a schedule. Mm-hmm. If the function is to escape or avoid, we're going to talk about that too. You can give them concrete tools or visual tools that will help them appropriately request a break. That is visual, that is concrete, that's like, I'm not just saying I need a break, but I can see it. Everybody can see it in front of me. If the function is attention, you can always build in ways to show them clearly how and when they're going to receive positive attention, how they're going to earn that positive attention, and how maybe they're not going to earn that attention. So they can see, hey, if I do these things, I'll get to work with a peer buddy. Or if I do these things, I get to eat lunch with my teacher and get this positive interaction, right? So you can really incorporate that as well.
Or just building it into their schedule too, where that attention is already built in, where they see, okay, I do this schedule, and at the end of it, I receive that adult attention automatically.
Yeah, and also just seeing the expectations, they'll see what are you going to praise them for.
Right.
So they see it in front of them, and then you guys know whenever you see them doing that, I'm going to go over and say, hey, great job getting out your pencil like it says on your schedule, or whatever. So you can really incorporate that positive attention lots of ways.
And Dr. Bellinger was just about to touch on this, I think, but it can go the opposite way too, where if you have the expectations maybe taped on the student's desk, if they're not following those expectations, that's another way to remind them of the expectations without giving them that positive attention. So where you could just walk by, tap on the expectations without giving any attention and move on, so that they know, oh yeah, these are the things I'm supposed to be doing, and it's a visual right in front of them.
Right. And so you can just point to, check your schedule, as opposed to you being, why are you not getting this done? And then it turns into lots of attention that they maybe shouldn't be getting for that. And then tangible, obviously, building in those pictures of rewards so they understand exactly what they're going to get. If that's what they're looking for. If they're looking for iPad time, put a picture of iPad time at the end of their tasks that they need to do. So figuring out what are they looking for, and let's put that right there so they can see it, right? Okay.
All right. So there are a variety of ways to use visual supports. We've kind of hit on a few of these. So a schedule is one of the biggest ways that we use a visual support. And like Dr. Bellinger was talking about a little bit earlier, you can break a schedule down for a very specific task, or you can break a schedule down for the entire day, or you could say, well, we'll have a schedule for the morning and we'll have a schedule for the afternoon, so that they know exactly what's expected of them at whatever time that is. When you are creating a visual schedule, the biggest thing is that you want to make sure that you don't miss an activity that happens every single day. You want to make sure that everything is incorporated into the schedule. And this can also really allow you to add in the additional things that you might be adding into a typical day that don't happen every single day, but they happen in schools, like schools are. There are some frequent transitions that you didn't expect. The next use is a first then. So this can be a really, really powerful way to use a visual schedule or a visual support. And so what this is that you show the child what they're going to do first, and then what comes after that. And so this is really using what we would call the pre-MAC principle, where you do something that's maybe less preferred first, and then in order to get to the more preferred activity, you have to complete that activity first. So maybe first we're going to line up, and then you get to go to recess, or first you're going to read and then you get iPad time, whatever it is, where the second activity, the then, is a more preferred activity. To-do list, what's expected? If you're reading, what are the things that you have to do while you're reading? Here's your to-do list. Or if you're about to do some independent work time, what's the to-do list during that time? And incorporating visual supports into that. So not only just a list with words, but incorporating some pictures into that can be super effective. The reward system. So this just really allows for whatever the child is working for to be provided in a visual support, so that they can see, if I do these things, then I earn these other things. We all do this kind of for ourselves, where we're rewarded by getting paid to do our job. And so we frequently might look at our paycheck and say, oh, how much am I going to get paid to do this? That's our visual support to see, okay, if I'm doing these things, this is what's going to happen. That's our reward, but really helping them to see, okay, if I do these 5 things, then I get this reward. Social stories can be super effective. They can break down various social situations, really incorporating the specific child's difficulties into the social story and going through what's expected of them in those social situations, and again, incorporating pictures into that so that they see what the expectation is. Break cards are also super, super helpful. Like Dr. Bellinger was saying, it becomes a visual thing, so that the kid is seeing it and you're also seeing it. Oh, they're really saying, I need a break right now. And you can say you get 3 break cards in the morning and you get 3 break cards in the afternoon, so that they're not using a break card every 5 minutes, but, or they might use them every 5 minutes and then you have to kind of wean them off of that. Help cards work in the same way, where they come and they use a card to ask for help. So this can be used in a variety of ways. If you have a child that's asking for help every minute, then you would tailor that to being a little bit more independent and only asking for help after they have gone through their to-do list that might be on the help card of, did I read the instructions? Did I look at the expectations for the assignment? Did I ask a peer? If I did all of those things, then I can ask for help. Visuals can be really helpful for labeling, labeling a variety of things in the classroom, labeling anything. You can use that for a visual support. Activity tracking. So what this is it kind of breaks down the schedule into specific activities, and then you can kind of check those activities off. Did I do this? Yes. Did I do this? And you can either check them off or move them to the done column. Task analysis is what we already kind of talked about, where you can break down a very specific task into each individual step to show children that there's more than one. It's not just brushing your teeth. There's a bunch of different steps within brushing your teeth.
Or getting dressed, toileting.
Yes.
It can be used for all different levels of kids that need all different kinds.
Getting ready to go out the door, getting ready to go home, whatever it is from school. And then communication. That can be super helpful for kids who have limited communication, verbal communication skills, where they can point to what they want using a visual strategy. So here is just a quick example of an afternoon routine, a visual schedule. So you guys can see on here that we do still incorporate words that are paired with those pictures. So this helps children to identify kind of what those words might mean with the picture. It also helps whoever else is using the schedule, an adult in the situation, to say, okay, this is what is really happening. If you have a kid that you feel like just pictures is going to be helpful, then absolutely use just pictures.
It looks like Dr. Swails would like to share an example with us. So please jump in.
Okay. Hi guys. Well, I had a session yesterday with a kiddo who we had lots of other kind of positive supports going on for her, but one of the ongoing concerns was lying, and she often was lying at home and at school, and so we were kind of struggling with that. It seemed like the function of that behavior was usually to get access to a preferred activity or preferred item. So what we did for her instead was we made a cute little truth tickets. So we started off the day that she gets to have 3 truth tickets to start off with, and then if she told a lie, she would lose one of her truth tickets. And the truth tickets were really positive too, because, and I'll send out an example afterwards. It was, if she kept 2 of them by the end of the day, then she'd get to have a Hershey Kiss. So on the little truth ticket, it had a picture of 1 truth ticket plus 2 truth tickets equals Hershey Kiss. So she thought it was pretty fun because it was her own little math problem that resulted in chocolate. And a way for us to try to address that concern of lying. At the same time too, of course, we're bumping up the positives and making sure we're giving her lots and lots of praise whenever she told a hard truth.
Well, and I think that's a great example because I think it shows, I think we just think, oh, they're lying. They're dishonest, they're deceitful. But sometimes it's like they want to get something and they figured out a way to do it. So if we can make it really, really clear and obvious and visual of a better way to do that and break it down to teach them, a lot of times kids will do it, which is, it's surprising because you're thinking, oh, she just is lying. She's just going to be lying. And it's like, no, she actually just wanted to get that chocolate and we gave her a better way to do it, right? So thinking about that sometimes of really, if you can make things concrete and make the, I had a professor that say, make the implicit explicit, right? Make what we think we just assume we know really clear to them, then you can get a lot of success. Yeah. Thank you for sharing that.
This is an example of a reward schedule. So for this child, Jack, these were his daily routine. Or was his afternoon routine. And so he had to earn so many of those dinosaurs that you guys see on the right there in order to earn a reward at the end of the day. And so as you can see, it's 8 dinosaurs, 10 spots. So he doesn't have to do every single one of those things in order to earn a treat, but he does have to do 8 of them in order to earn what's expected. And so for some kids, you might start much smaller, where they're doing all of those things. You also really want to lay out the expectations. What does it take to earn one of your dinosaurs? Does it take using kind hands, using kind words, calm body, all of those things, and really laying out the expectations in a way that are really positive and are telling him what you want him to do, not what you don't want him to do.
And I like how on this one, the dinosaurs are incorporated. I'm assuming that was a sort of an interest of his, was dinosaurs. And so sometimes the reward is like a picture of a dinosaur, or a picture of a Minecraft character, or a sticker, or a star. But then we also, of course, we can make it more powerful by tying that to another reward. So.
And I think that the biggest thing here is that you're trying to figure out what, again, you have to know what the function of the behavior is. So if this child wants something tangible, if that's what they're trying to gain access to, then the reward could be something tangible that they want that access to. If it's attention, then they have to do all these things, and then they get extra time.
Or you're praising them every time you give a dinosaur. Yeah. Things like that.
So it's kind of the big thing with the reward schedule. The next thing we're going to talk about is visual emotion rating scales. And so what this can do is that it makes all of our abstract emotions very, very concrete. And so when we think about a lot of kids, their big issue is being able to one of their big issues is describing kind of how they feel about various situations, or they react to a situation very, very quickly without understanding that there were warning signs before they got to that reaction. And so what this will help us do is to help children identify, oh, I'm getting worked up. What are some things I can do in a really visual way?
Many of you guys probably already use some of this with like zones of regulation. You guys want to raise your hand? Are people using that kind of thing? Yeah. So, I mean, the idea of just, you get it, like the colors, and if you can make it visual. But I've seen a lot of great things with zones, but I think the important thing is, can you make it even more visual? Can it be taped on their desk, right? Can it be in their binder? Like, just because you teach them red, green, yellow, like make sure that is it on the wall? A lot of times I know teachers put it on the wall in the classroom. But how can you make it so clear that it's always right in front of them? So that it's not just this, again, like, oh, I think someone says I'm red and I don't know what that means, but it's like right there for them.
Yeah. And these are some examples.
And I see look, I see an example right behind Karen.
Yeah, there we go. There's Karen. How are you feeling today?
With the shit, they've got 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. I don't know if you guys can see that behind her, but even with a little emoji.
Yeah. And so these are a couple of different examples of those, making emotions visual. We would use a 5-point scale or a 10-point scale or whatever it is that really works for that kid. But what you do is, what does that emotion or that behavior look like, and what are some things that they can do to calm themselves down?
I think another good point on that is, a lot of people are using zones, which is great, but especially for our kids with autism and kind of those kind of sticky interests, sometimes it's going to work a lot better if you make it fit to their interest. So, I had a kid that had the hardest time figuring out, like, identifying emotions, but when we put it with Mario characters, he like totally got it. So I was like, well, who's the coolest, calmest Mario character? Well, Yoshi, right? Okay, well, Yoshi, like Yoshi's your 0, you're green, right? And who's the angriest, maddest? Well, Bowser. Okay, so Bowser's number is 5. And I don't know that he would have got it as well if it was just red, yellow, but because he knows Bowser, right? He plays this all the time. And it's the same thing with those Minecraft characters. They get it. Like that really speaks to them. Yeah. So just because you have a visual, it may not work for that kid. Like, you need to make sure that visual is meaningful for that child.
Exactly. Visuals across the board, not just the 5-point scale. Across the board, they have to be meaningful for the child. And then one way to really make them meaningful is to help them. They're going to help you create the visual a little bit too, so that they're really actively engaged in the process, so that it's part of what they are. They're invested in it.
I think that's a really good point. Whether it's them taking pictures, them picking pictures, they can pick it from a magazine or from online pictures. I don't think I put this on here. Did we put ChoiceWorks on here?
Yeah.
So we're going to talk about this app that I love. It's called ChoiceWorks. It's one word. It's really cheap. I think it's like $4.99, $5. But it has these sort of pictures built in, so you can use on a phone or a tablet, and you can take pictures of the child doing all the different things. You can even take videos of the child doing all the different things. So it can be a really cool tool to make it really personalized for the kiddo. Now that's assuming that they don't get super distracted by the technology.
But it could be kind of a cool reward too. Like you get to use the technology if you're doing the things that are expected of you as well, where if you're doing your schedule, then you get to use this technology.
Right.
So, the first this, then that, we've already kind of talked about this, but this is just kind of a way to make it visual. So you would just put a picture in the first and the then column. Timers. Timers are awesome. Timers really allow everybody to know, okay, I told you to do this for 5 minutes. Here's your 5-minute timer. Okay, now you did it for 5 minutes. So now you get whatever, you get some praise, you get to stop, you get to escape, whatever it is. Timers can be used in a variety of ways. We've got some examples on here, but a timer on your phone, whatever it is, but it really has to allow everybody to know that when it ends, something else happens. So that, because I know that in my own world, if I say go do it for 5 minutes and I don't set a timer, it might be 25 minutes before I actually come back. And so we want to make sure that those timers allow for not only the adult, but for the child to be able to see, okay, I'm going to be doing this math sheet that I don't want to do for 5 minutes, and then I get to escape from it.
Or opposite wise, I get this much more time on my favorite toy or game or iPad, and then it's so nice because it's not the teacher taking it away, it's the timer. Like it's not my fault, the timer's up, right? Same with parents. Like parents love this a lot of times because it's like, you're not arguing with them, I'm just telling you what the timer says. The timer's up, right? And especially kids on the spectrum do really well with like, oh, that's the rule, it's up, right? The other one thing I want to speak to is how a timer not only helps with predictability and transitions, but can really address the function of attention. So I had a telemed kiddo that I've been working with their school team, and a lot of the issue was complaining, crying, complaining about not wanting to do something. I can't do it, I won't do it, this is awful. And there was a lot of like the para coming over and trying to help them and calm them down, and everybody trying to say, yes, you can, yes, you can. And so we kind of talked about, let's just give them the worksheet, set a timer, right? And say, here's your job, set a timer, walk away for 5 minutes and say, we'll be back in 5 minutes to check on you. And then coming back, and like, this has made a huge difference. This child is not whining, is not crying, is not leaving the room, is getting to work on their own because they're realizing, I'm going to have to try this on my own, and there's not going to be any attention or interaction for 5 minutes, so I better just get to work. If I want the attention, I better get to work, and then somebody will come over in 5 minutes and help me and attend to me and things like that. So I think a timer is another example of how it can help adults, because I think it helps adults realize, oh, I need to walk away for 5 minutes and remove that attention for 5 minutes. And so sometimes I think, especially when you have a group of paras and different teachers, and it's a really good tool because it helps them realize, oh, I need to give them that time too.
Right, exactly. Break cards, we already talked about this a little bit, but it's just a visual support as to how they can take a break. The ones on the right, they also have some choices of what are some things that they can do to take that break that are appropriate choices. Because an appropriate choice is not running around the room talking, it's going and doing something quiet or going to an expected place. Getting help cards, this is a really good example of ways to put kind of what's expected before you ask for help, so that they're not asking for help all the time, but there's kind of these expectations of what happens before they ask.
And oftentimes a great way to use a help card is, a kiddo gets 3 help cards, kind of like what the truth tickets that Dr. Swails was talking about. But, they get 3 help cards during a certain period of time. And so if they need help, they can use that help card. But if they have some left over, then they can use that for something fun. And so it can be really rewarding as well. But this was a good example of a kiddo that just asked for help way too much and didn't really understand that problem-solving process of, I really don't need help right now. I could think about it myself. I could look it up in one of my books or things like that. And so this is this could be the help card that they trade in, but it also has that problem solving process on it. So before they give that help card over, they're actually seeing, did I go through this problem solving process?
Yeah.
right? So there's lots of ways it's making it visual. It's making the request for help visual, and it's also making that problem-solving process really visual for them.
Exactly. And then these are just some resources. So there's a link to the ChoiceWorks app. I don't know that it works on Samsung or on Android phones at this point in time. And then the Autism Speaks has some pre-made visuals that are really, really awesome.
There's lots of, you guys probably know, like teachers help pay teachers or whatever. I mean, you know, I always like, it's not that hard to make one, and Dr. Tepper's going to talk about that, but there's also, if you just Google like visual for whatever, a lot of times really great ones come up. So don't stress yourself out thinking this is going to take you a whole lot of extra time, because sometimes it doesn't take long anyway, and then there's sometimes already really nice pre-made ones as well.
And we already actually sent out the work kind of, it's a visual for making a visual support. So we've already sent that out. And I think that we should maybe bounce over to the case presentation.
Agreed.
Instead of going through that as well.
Yes.
Okay. All right. So we will go ahead and turn it over to Karen.
Oh, we can't hear you yet. Let's make sure that we have you unmuted, and then make sure you're unmuted.
Okay, can you hear us now?
Oh, there we go. Yep.
We will see everybody in 2 weeks on March 13th for another session on prevention and another case presentation.
Yes,
Okay.
absolutely.
All right.
I should tell you that before, and I sent an email to Mr. Stiles, the Wichita district is not in school on the 13th.
Oh.
So I don't know who's going to show up.
Oh, is that their spring break?
That's our conference release day, yeah. And then
Okay. Well, we will maybe send out a kind of a poll to see how many folks, because it's just been like, it's been kind of that. There was a snow day, and then there was a Valentine. It's just hard to get everybody here, I feel like. But we will definitely kind of look into that.
Yeah.
And please, if you haven't already filled out your form, your behavior, identify a behavior, and so that you can start tracking that behavior, because they are, you know, Karen, you guys had great data on really knowing it was escape and then a secondary of attention. And so because of that, we could have a really valuable discussion to make a really great intervention where, again, when we're not able to track that, then we're not able to collect data. It's hard to then make a really meaningful intervention. So great job. Keep up the good work, and we'll see you guys soon.
Yeah.
All right, thank
Thanks.
you.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Good luck.